My name is Austin, and I love music. Brian Wilson, if you didn't know, is a great man who, during his time with the Beach Boys, created one of the most important albums of the 20th century, and his work is known and loved by musicians. He once said, "When I sit at a piano, I feel God this far above my head. And any minute I play Good Vibrations is a minute I feel spiritually whole." Now, people who know any more about Brian Wilson knows that he wasn't just talking about the power of music here. But I can't help but to be moved by it a little. I think there are two levels of passion, or at least a difference between what you like and what you love. I have my hobbies and pastimes, which I'm very glad to have, but they usually remain hobbies and pastimes, and they're nothing compared to what I love doing. The thing I love doing isn't just for fun. Actually, a lot of the time it terrifies me, but right now, for me, it's everything. I get at a loss for words trying to explain exactly what it means to me, because at least right now I'm missing the words I would need to even begin if they even exist. I think the difference between hobbies and true passions might be obvious to a lot of people, but I don't believe I ever could have made that distinction before I found a love for music, and right now, that's where that true love is for me. So why do I like music? Short answer, I took piano lessons and it stuck. Long answer, each medium has a sort of unique strength. Written works, books have strength and information because when you cut out visuals and sounds and really any sort of sense, you end up with just words and their feelings, and a great writer will play with these words and manipulate them in beautiful ways because the right words and the right sequence are really powerful. You find books with complex social structures explained with animals in farms, and the entirety of life, the universe, and everything condensed down into a comedic fiction. It's a different form of emotion and feeling than music, a more intellectual one that you have to interact with the text to feel and really understand. It's like the purest form of an ideal in art, just the words and how they work together. Besides, if you just want to get the point across, you're not writing a play. By that logic, visual media sounds dumber, but it isn't. Visuals add a layer of personability and subtlety that can be lost in all that text. A lot of the times, the communication of complex ideals is through these subtleties and appeals to the senses. And yeah, it means that the meaning can be even more hidden than before, but the meanings you find are something more vivid and personal, especially with the addition of acting. And at the very least, it looks cool, and that's good enough some of the time. So, if literature appeals to your logic and visual media appeals to your senses, I like to believe that music appeals to your emotion, your soul. It has this ability to inherently get to you, the ability to make narration sound way more impactful. And of course, music can have ideals, but the way I see it, they're usually added in conjunction to raw emotion. And that doesn't make the meaning secondary, but what it means is that in the best cases, you find the meaning blended into the complex feelings in the work, so that they both kind of become one, and you end up with a sense of it all that leaves you with something profound and really spiritual. That's a big word, and the thing is, I mean it. Art, music, its creation, its transmission, its meaning is a spiritual thing. If you pay attention to art, you really pay attention. Strip the human imperfections away. Remove the physical work from the equation. Deep in there, there is meaning. And deep in that meaning is something grand and huge, and it's the key to all of this. And if you connect with the music, it lets you get a glimpse of this grand something. It lets you feel this something. Music can transcend itself and become larger and more important than just the song itself, and in that way, it is a spiritual thing. It may seem silly to put so much emphasis on the word spiritual, but if you think about it... Alright, I'm stopping you there. I don't care, I'm using this thing. So I've watched this section like 50 times, and every single time I watch it, this dude sounds like more of an idiot, because music is spiritual. Duh. 6 months ago when I wrote this was still new to me, and it's nice that this guy gets it, but it's not as cool of an observation as he thought it was. And secondly, it's still a good observation, kind of. I think a lot of people would agree that music is a spiritual thing, but they don't treat it like that, and it's big, and it really shouldn't be tampered with in the way that people do when they kind of treat it like a physical, normal thing, you know? We're going to talk about it later. I'm trying to defend... It's stupid. This is a... Does this thing work? I was definitely planning on cutting it. Until back in November, I listened to Dark Side of the Moon for the first time. And that's all we get because I'm afraid of the law. Now, the album's weird. Long sections of disconnected noise, whole songs with no words, whole tracks that aren't even really songs. Because of that, if you listen to it like an album, you get an album, still a good one, but you'll probably be very weirded out. But this album is so much more than that. I made one of my friends listen to it right in the middle of a history class lecture, and that's what really showed me the point here. Because if you listen to Great Gig in the Sky, you're going to find yourself really confused. But I don't think you're really supposed to listen to it, because the art in the album means so much more than the music attributed to it. You're supposed to feel it, and that way you get so much more. Every night before I go to bed, I listen to music on full volume, and I always go on way too long. The thing is, sometimes the music just hits me. I don't know how to explain it, but it is magical. I guess the song just finds me at the perfect point in time and space, and I bond with it for that brief moment. I could never force the feeling if I tried, but the memories of when it happened stay with me. That feeling's almost like the heart of it all for me. That's where I get a glimpse of the something. I've always been musically adjacent. I can hold my own on a couple instruments, and from what I've heard, my dad was once in a similar position to what I'm in now. I had about 5 years of piano lessons, and for most of the 10 years I've played now, I couldn't have cared less. That changed with John Prine. My dad showed his music to me, and then he died a week later, John Prine, not my dad, and that's apparently what it took. I remember not being able to imagine anyone better at what they did. Then came Tally Hall, Tyler the Creator, then the Beatles, and up until the Beatles I loved the music, but I never found the need to play it, to do something with it, and that all changed very quick. But it's strange. I've heard stories from friends and famous people about hearing songs on the radio, building canjos, and having their love for music just manifest really early in their life because of it. I mean really early, like 6 or 7. That sense of urgency I felt to do something that came from the Beatles started because of a documentary they released in late 2021. That was just a little over a year ago. But in that year, I think I've gotten pretty far. Hi. PowerPoint should be somewhere over here. I apologize if this takes too long because it definitely will. But I put on a suit for this and it's really hot, so I hope you sympathize with me. The kind of music you like has nothing to do with how good your taste in music is. Whether you like older or newer stuff, classical or heavy metal shouldn't be the sign that you like music any more than other people. And it's a system that's way too subjective to get any solid answer across the board. I think most people would agree on this. It doesn't seem like it, though. We have parents talking about how their music was better, while children keep up with a completely new landscape, all that great debate over whether whole genres of music are even music in the first place, all that stuff still going on as it has done forever. I think taste has a part in music, though, but this kind of taste isn't related to what you listen to, but how you listen to it. Someone with a good music taste in this sense is someone that has come around to understand everything art and music can offer. They should be able to hear any song, from any genre, and any artist, allow themselves to appreciate it, to love it, separate from whether or not you would listen to it, or even if you enjoy that style of music. I think a true artist, a true appreciator of art, would have a hard time saying that music is bad, and an even harder time saying that isn't music. They would know that it has to be music, because it simply is. They would know that it has to be music, because it simply is. Because there's something beautiful in every work of art. And the way we use taste now really hurts that idea. And when you look at intention over convention, passion over production, I think you get really close to seeing something beautiful in everything. That is a perfect taste in music. an appreciation and love of it so strong that you can love every part of it, unconditionally, separate from human preference or taste. And in the sense of taste we actually use, everyone would say, you have a good one, because you know and see why they love it and have come to love it for the same reasons. It just works. Tricked you. It really doesn't. First, it's borderline impossible to find someone that could actually pull off a perfect taste because humans are too stupid to be able to see something for what it is, separate from opinion. Secondly, art sometimes isn't even art. Corporate music is only made with the intent of profit. People would still go back and forth over how genuine modern pop is. Noise music remains debatable, although there are some examples I do like. A pure corporate product has no artistic beauty. Thirdly, there are some people who listen to music purely for background noise. I'm so far removed from that at this point that I couldn't begin to understand why, but I suppose they just like to listen to noise, and it doesn't seem like they even really seek any type of engagement from it. Some people don't listen to music actively at all. I suppose by the new definition that would be bad taste, and now we end up back at square one, as people argue over how much someone is capable of appreciating art in the first place. So in the end, we have an idea that only works in a perfect world, with perfect people and perfect art. But I think approaching it this way has opened me up to a lot of unique things I would have completely rejected before. And to me, the fact that all art simply is art has started to become an inarguable fact. So I like it, and I think I'll keep it. But that doesn't mean I don't struggle to practice it. If you were paying attention during my timeline earlier, you would notice it's pretty short, and during the span of that list, there were virtually no other artists I listened to. That's because my tastes really like to move in a special little cycle. It goes something like this. Step 1. Find an artist I like, usually by chance when I hear a single song of theirs off the radio. I'm really stubborn, and I don't like taking suggestions from people, so whether or not I find an artist is kind of left up to circumstance, but that's another problem. Step 2. I become completely and utterly obsessed with the artist. I learn everything there is to learn about them, completely ignore all other music to only listen to them, and try to get through their full discography until step 3, I get horribly burnt out, and hopefully still respect them enough to stomach the songs I played on repeat for months on end. I probably don't even get through their full discography. Step 4, go into a music depressive phase where I listen to more varied things, but in the end I'm just waiting for another artist to latch onto. It's bad, it's harmful to my taste, and it holds me back a lot. But I've started working to fix it. I'm lucky right now because since the Beatles were so connected with music history, it's easy to go off on small tangents. I've also been pushing myself to listen to more albums and take more recommendations. It's just funny how much someone can hold themselves back from what is clearly the best option just because it feels weird. Man, that's outdated. Yeah. This script took a long time to write, and so future me has two things to say. First, I've refined the philosophy in that last part a little by setting up new criteria for judging art rather than removing the ability to judge it at all. I think the only two factors art can be judged by are the integrity of the artist and how well the artist realized their vision. If artistic integrity is solid, it is art, hard stop, even if its physical manifestation is a little shaky. This weeds out the problem art, and it remains ambiguous enough to leave room for plenty of debate. Secondly, I started taking the initiative to listen to at least an album a week and then write about what I like about it as a bonus. This was really difficult at first, but now it almost comes natural, and I get around to about 8 albums a month now, and my writing has also improved a lot from it. I would absolutely recommend it, and I can confidently say that I won't get obsessed with any artists for way too long anytime soon. So have you heard of this dude? The bassist of our band when we started last March was already really good at one instrument, and in order for us to start a band, he needed to learn bass over the course of about 2 weeks, and he did it, and he's been getting better ever since. But the thing that struck me as strange in those early stages was that he was one of those people that never found the need to listen to music. I mean, he was in an orchestra, but I guess eventually necessity caught up to him, and he found the need, and he told me one of the best things he's ever done was lay in his backyard tossing a baseball, listening to country music. I just think that's cool. And after being in a band, I'm in a position where I can talk to people that are in the exact same place I am. I'm starting to get to know people just because we both know how to play an instrument, and I've been attempting to start playing with as many people as possible. I'm getting these crazy ideas about joining orchestras and finding ways to get horns involved with the rock band. That one's going to take a second, though. I've also gotten into the habit of urging people to learn instruments as a solution to literally every single one of their problems. One of my friends mentioned wanting to play the organ, so I very quickly sent him all the books that I don't use anymore. There's another guy I know who mentioned learning guitar and getting in a band, but hasn't seemed to act on it yet. I'm gonna keep pestering him until he does. I've tried to spread a love for music, and I'm gonna keep trying, and that's what this script is for. I want to show people that this is a magical thing. This is something incredibly important, and it's definitely not something to pass over. I know this script is a bit messy, awfully narrated, very disconnected, badly edited, but I've tried to make my point, and I've tried to show you me because I think that's the best way to communicate all this. The thing is, I have a feeling people that don't get it won't get it, but I know people that are in the same situation I am should understand all this perfectly, provided I actually wrote this script well. This video is about music, but it kinda isn't. Like I said at the beginning, it's about a true passion, something that you would give anything to keep. I believe my true passion lies in music, but that's definitely not the case for everyone. But if the universe is good, everyone has got to have something. And if they never try and find it, they're doing a cosmic disservice to themselves and everyone else. There are a lot of people that just go through the motions, never once wanting to find it because either they've tried and failed or it's just their nature, but being one of those people might be one of my greatest fears. I don't mean to sound pretentious because I don't really have a platform here, but if the meaning of all this skips by you hard, I recommend you try and find that something, that true passion. And it can be anything, but it is there, somewhere. When you find it, go find other people and tell them about it. Try and get to the bottom of why you love this thing so much, and you'll be able to spread it even better. Then go do something with it. Fulfill yourself. Create. If you make something people like, then you spread your passion way faster and you might become famous and go down in history. If you make something no one likes but you do, then you did just fine. This is all my attempt at making something. And it's been one of the most difficult things I've done. It took me over 6 months to write this script, not counting the multiple years I've wanted to create something before this, and while writing it, I kept getting this really clear sense of how much easier it'd be to just scrap the whole thing and move on and be comfortable again, but hopefully I didn't, and I released it, and maybe it had an effect, and when it's done, my next challenge is to face all of music and all its history and hope that one day I get to add anything to it worth something. I haven't gotten over that yet, but this is a step towards it, and it's not going to be my last step, I hope. And I also hope if I finish it, when I look back 2 weeks later, hating every part of this, that I remind myself what's important, that I did it. But I think the point I'm making here is important and worth losing a little bit to spread because it's more valuable than anything I would lose, and something in me tells me that I need to spread this idea, and so I'm gonna keep trying. The script took way too long to get moving, and over that time I've practiced my writing a lot, and now I have this essay I wrote for school about how art is the greatest way we communicate. I'll probably explain it better some other time, but for now, Hegel, the philosopher, defines art as a sort of representation of the completely physical world, the absolute truth, as he calls it. Art is used to interpret and imitate this, but it's also less than religion and philosophy because they both make heavy use of art to interpret and make sense of the same truth. This would be bad for art, but Hegel is incredibly sure to preface all of this with the fact that the beauty in art is not tied to a physical thing, but metaphysical, spiritual, if you will, and that metaphysical beauty is superior to the physical. So now we find ourselves in a place where art is used as a smaller part of many things, but is consistently used to translate physical beauty, the absolute truth, into metaphysical beauty, a feeling, an impression of everything. Spoken language works just like religion and philosophy here because it would be a lot harder to make art without communicating. But when we make art, it isn't just to repeat what we've been saying for thousands of years, but to say something more, something that has a chance and maybe even a guarantee to be completely unique. That's the beauty. And for now, it's the closest I can get to explaining that something. All right, guys, get comfy. We got one more page. Before I wrote that essay, I was having a lot of trouble trying to end this on a clear point, so I sat down and wrote what came to mind and tried to edit it as little as possible. It goes like this. I said earlier that no words, no matter how hard I try, will ever exactly explain what I'm trying to say. None. But that's fine. There's no way I can show you exactly what I mean because there's no way I'll ever understand exactly what I mean because it's bigger than that. It's bigger than making you want to dance. It's bigger than making you cry. It's bigger than you, than anyone, than everyone on earth put together. Music. Music is an expression of emotion, vibrancy, feeling, culture, love, hate, happiness, misery, everything by everyone that was and is to come, because it is a part of society and a long line of influence that dates back to the first time a cave wall was painted. Whether they listened to it, wrote it, sang it, it doesn't matter. The magic that music, art has is part of all of us. Just a simple song with a simple meaning is infinitely important because it's backed by all of that. Brian Wilson saw God in art because it might as well have been God's greatest gift to us. It might as well be God. And God might as well be real because every time I sit at a piano, I get the chance to see everything that music is, has been, and will be. And when I play a single note on my piano, when I listen to a song on my phone, I become a part of it. Every bit of it. I wouldn't say I'm religious anymore, yet, in a funny way, I think I believe every word of what I just said. You can try and define art all you want, but it will never be defined because it's bigger than everything that ever was and will be. Bigger than the universe, bigger than the reality that we live in, and yet every day, as long as we're careful not to trap it, define it, limit it, we get the chance to almost see the full breadth of it. That might as well be the most beautiful thing ever.